Yeah, we'll start. It's 5:36. Shall we wait for another 2 minutes? Already 17 people have joined. Let them join later. Good evening. Welcome to all of you for the 463rd session of Telangana Jana Vedika, Sunday session of Telangana Jana Vedika. Today, we have taken a different subject. We have taken up a price, commodities of agriculture price, Bihar as an example. For that, we have invited Dr. TJV Jha. He is an eminent personality from Patna. He's done his PhD and all. James will give a brief introduction of the speaker later. And I also thank Manoj for bringing Dr. TJV Jha on board today. Thank you, Manoj, for bringing the speaker to the board today. When we go into the subject, agriculture is the main backbone of Indian economy. When we got independence, the population of India was around 34 crores, but around 80% of the population then was dependent on agriculture. Evolutionary changes, illiteracy, and all these things has brought a lot of changes into Indian culture and history. But still, even today, about 58% of the population is dependent on agriculture. Rural India is facing with a lot of crisis. Farmers are not getting their prices for their output. And also, they are in deep debt. There's a debt crisis for the farmers too. So on this subject, when we talk about farming, how a farmer should get a better price for his output is the subject today. And how Bihar farmers are facing this. Secondly, when we talk about farming, national movement, that is the pre-independence movement, the farmers of Champaran, they have actually, the farming community has come in total to support the national movement, the independence movement. In a way, the Champaran movement was a curtain raiser for the independent India movement. So today, when we talk about farming, recently when we have seen the central government has brought in 3 farming laws, but only 3 states, namely Punjab, Haryana, and part of Rajasthan and a part of UP have taken part in this agitation. So why the farming community in rest of India, let us say pan-India, why did they not take part in this agitation? And why did they not support the agitation? Bihar, which actually brought the people a mass movement of the Bihar farming community in 1917, the Champaran movement, which brought the freedom to India. Why are they silent? Is it because of illiteracy? Is it because of the government's policies there, or are they in a better position today? In a way, again, when there was an emergency in India, internal emergency, the agitation was started from Bihar again. So why Bihar is silent today? Why is Bihar not taking part in any national movement is the question. So I think the speaker will put forth all his arguments about Bihar, about the farming community, about the spicing structure, and all these things today. Let us see what Dr. Jha says today. Meanwhile, I request James Prashant to introduce the speaker. Later, Dr. Agutota Srinivasulu will invite the speaker. He will moderate and invite the speaker to speak. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ramagaru. Good evening and a warm welcome to everyone for our Sunday session for Telangana Jana Vedika. Our topic today is building perspective on agriculture, commodity price fixation, a case reference of Bihar. Thank you for the perspective on agriculture, Ramu sir. And our speaker today is Dr. T.N. Jha. Dr. T, as rechristened by ex-American Senator Dr. Monsoya, is a researcher, a prolific writer, and above all, a committed student of development economics and banking. His full name is Tej Narayan Jha, popularly called by his friends as TN. From a humble village boy in northern Bihar to becoming an economist of repute, his story is one of failures as an entrepreneur to climbing academic heights and occupying positions of significance in the Reserve Bank of India and NABARD. He has had an excellent career graph. After completing BA honors from Bihar University, Muzaffarpur, he joined BHU for higher studies, PG in economics, and then moved to Jawaharlal University for MPhil and PhD programs in subjects of regional economics. His journey towards attaining excellence in research took a big jump when he joined National Council of Applied Economic Research, New Delhi in 1976. He then moved to another premium institution named Agriculture Economics Research Center, Delhi School of Economics. It was a dream come true for him when he received appointment letter as an economist in Reserve Bank of India at senior level. But soon with the creation of NABARD, he moved to this new organization to work on areas where he had attained some degree of expertise by then. In more than 3 decades of association with NABARD in various positions, the broader work profile for him included initially conducting monitoring and evaluation studies, appraisal of investment projects, preparing project completion reports for international donor agencies, and writing sectoral and region-specific papers. With each promotion in years coming by, his work profile got enlarged to managing Research and Development Fund and coordinating research studies entrusted to outside agencies and writing policy notes and papers for the management. The work profile with subsequent promotions became larger, often heading multiple operational departments like credit departments, rural infrastructure development department, microcredit department, and the like. In addition, he represented NABARD as members of different committees, task forces created by Agricultural Ministry and Planning Commission of the Government of India from time to time. Besides, he would offer faculty support to training centers of NABARD, RBI, commercial banks, regional rural banks, and cooperative banks, covering wide range of subjects in research and operational areas of the banks. After demitting office on retirement from NABARD, he joined the Central University of Bihar, Patna, to teach postgraduate students in development economics, project economics, and agrarian relations. Significantly, after retirement, he did not sit home, instead involved himself in social activities under the banner of an institution named Indo-Nepal Friendship Trust, which was formed in Patna to work in groups towards building and promoting sound people-to-people relations between the two countries. As a step in this direction, a study into perils of Koshi River was also conducted under this forum, and a couple of seminars for youths of these two countries from bordering areas were also organized. With these long-standing academic and work experiences in development banking, Dr. T.N. Jha is here before us to share his wisdom on building perspective on agricultural commodity price fixation, a case reference of Bihar. I'm sure all of us will immensely benefit this evening from his presentation today. And we are really thrilled, honored, and privileged to have a very senior academic scholar amongst us this evening. And before I hand over the floor to our moderator, as per our tradition at Telangana Jana Vedika, I would like to read the preamble of our constitution. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November, 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Thank you. Dr.
Thank you, Jim.
Srinivas Garu. Yeah.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Thank you. Telangana Jana Vedika Zoom online meeting కు విచ్చేసినటువంటి పెద్దలు డాక్టర్ తేజ్ నారాయణ గారికి మరియు ఇతర వేదిక సభ్యులు మిత్రులు పెద్దలందరికీ సాయంకాలం నమస్కారాలు తెలియజేస్తూ అందరికీ స్వాగతం సుస్వాగతం. ఇవాళ చాలా అతి ప్రధానమైనటువంటి అంశంగా మనం భావించవచ్చు. ఎందుకంటే భారతీయ సమాజం అంతా కూడా అంటే ఇప్పటికీ కూడా 60 నుండి 70% మేరకు వ్యవసాయ రంగంపైనే జీవనం కొనసాగిస్తున్నటువంటి భారతదేశం వ్యవసాయ ఉత్పత్తుల ధరల నిర్వహణపై అవగాహన అనేటువంటి అంశం బీహార్ను ఉదాహరణగా అనేటువంటి అంశాన్ని మనం ఎన్నుకోవడం జరిగింది. ముఖ్యంగా భారత సమాజం అంటేనే వ్యవసాయక సమాజం అని, వ్యవసాయ ఆధారిత సమాజం అనేటువంటిది చెప్పుకుంటూ వస్తున్నాం. ఎంత టెక్నాలజీ డెవలప్ అయినప్పటికీ కూడా, అభివృద్ధి చెందినప్పటికీ కూడా 60% మేరకు వ్యవసాయ రంగంపైనే ఆధారపడడం అనేటువంటిది ఇంకా ఆలోచించవలసినటువంటి ఒక ప్రధానమైనటువంటి అంశం. కాకుంటే వ్యవసాయ ఉత్పత్తులు అనేటువంటివి రైతు తన యొక్క ఉత్పత్తి, తన ధరను తాను నిర్ణయించుకోవడానికి అవకాశం లేకుండా ఈ దేశంలో ఉంది అనేటువంటిది చాలా స్పష్టం. ఏదైనా ఒక పెన్ను కానీ, ఒక చెప్పుల కానీ, ఏదైనా ఒక పారిశ్రామిక ఉత్పత్తికి మాత్రం ఆ యొక్క పరిశ్రమలు లేదా ఆ కార్పొరేషన్, ఆ యొక్క కార్పొరేట్ వ్యవస్థలు తమ యొక్క ధరను తాము నిర్ణయించుకుంటాయి తప్ప వ్యవసాయ ఉత్పత్తిదారుడు ఉత్పత్తి చేసినటువంటి వస్తువును తన ధరను తాను నిర్ణయించుకోవడం అనేటువంటిది ఇక్కడ మనం ఆలోచించవలసినటువంటి ఒక ప్రధాన అంశంగా చెప్పుకుంటూనే ఇవాళ అంశం వ్యవసాయ ఉత్పత్తుల ధరల నిర్వహణపై అవగాహన బీహార్ ఉదాహరణగా అనేటువంటి అంశం పైన డాక్టర్ తేజ్ నారాయణ గారు వారిని మాట్లాడవలసిందిగా వారిని సాదరంగా ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నా. ఇన్వైట్ డాక్టర్ తేజ్ నారాయణ గారు. సార్ ప్లీజ్. Dr.
Yes. Please go ahead, sir.
Should I now start?
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir.
I may be excused if I am not pronouncing names of respected members of this august group correctly. To begin, Mr. Rao Garuji, Manoj Reddy ji, Arvind ji, Professor Ramaraju ji, Mr. James, Mr. Appu Thotta ji, and friends. I am extremely delighted to be with this august group, sharing some of my perceptions which I have built over a period of time. Why this topic? The topic, as you know, is building perception on fixation of agricultural commodity prices, a case reference of Bihar. The immediate provocation was, to me in particular, that recently the central government formed a committee to basically, I need not repeat exactly the terms of reference that it has been given, but the basic purpose of this committee formation is to suggest on the future price regime that the center may consider to adopt. So this really provoked me in the sense, last time when the whole price regime was virtually, the foundation of this price regime was laid in early 70s, in the aftermath of this drought, severe drought conditions in mid 60s. That time, of course, the challenges were altogether different. And the whole thing was, decided in a very, tight room type, where not many, it was never brought to the public domain to take public views. And it was decided. I'm not doubting the wisdom of such decisions. But then, by and large, that the kind of regime, price regime that emerged and has remained by and large almost the same, with some changes here and there. The regime by and large remains the same. That I will come subsequently. I think it's time we speak up based on our experiences of each and every region, each and every states. Either we speak up our mind or we perish. Next time, particularly people of Bihar, if they do not speak this time to share their grievances, to share their perceptions, I think they have no reason to blame anybody else except themselves if they continue in this perpetual cobweb kind of poverty situation. So I think my purpose of taking up this project, this particular topic, is essentially to highlight some of the conflicting scenarios, some of the biases, some of the inadequacies, and so many things that is visible and that has really created a kind of big death trap for so many reasons. How to come out of this? So I said, speaking my mind on this particular subject will create some kind of awareness on what are the larger issues. Very recently, last week itself, I was fortunate to speak up my mind on this very subject among the galaxy of people in Patna, where in addition to some top political brasses, they and some senior bureaucrats, they were galaxy of academicians, NGOs, and also some of the persons in the field, including farmers. And I'm happy to report that the kind of issues I raised there was taken up very well. And they appreciated, yes, these are the these are the problems which we rarely come to discuss, and we need to take up more and more. Anyway, I'm glad when I in fact, I talked to my best friend, Mr. Ramaraju, about my experiences in Patna. He immediately said, can you make such presentation before a particular group of the people in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh? First, Ramaraju Garu has been my closest friend right from days in NCER. We joined it together. We lived together for almost, I think, 6-7 years. After that, we parted ways as destiny took us. But after a brief silence of our, we rarely, after he joined Delhi University, I went to NABARD, RBI NABARD, and there was hardly any interaction after that. But all of a sudden, on some occasions, whenever I came to Delhi, I would try to contact him, and that renewed our, past friendship, and it continues even now more strongly. So he suggested, why not to speak up those issues again in such a group. In fact, when he said this, I was a little hesitant because, believe me, I always found Andhrites a little superior in so many ways. They are well informed, they have an ethical mind, and I will not hesitate saying, in the bar, I had many seniors and juniors working with me, and they were, Andhrites. And I found they had a very creative brain, and they will always come up with this suggestion or that suggestion. That shows the kind of agile mind they are. So I said this group will also have so many agile mind, and maybe I am not able to meet their expectations. So how would I feel like? Possibly, yes. This time also it could be. I may be excused if I do not come up to your expectation. Sir, my central argument in this presentation is that although the kind of price regime which were created in the aftermath of that drought, as I said, in early 70s, while it served its historical purposes in initial days, but its continuance without making any attempt to assess how it has served the purpose and what are the difficulties, in what direction we should move, what new things we should adopt, the same regime continued. And the resultant impact of this, particularly if I see the case of Bihar, has been disastrous in so many ways. And therefore, I argue very strongly, this is high time before we decide on the price issue, we should also make the terms of reference of this commission, enlarging it to make it, let us assess and evaluate this entire issue of the kind of pillars which emerged, which was created virtually to serve this larger purpose. There are a lot, I'll come to that afterwards. So it needs to be reviewed and assessed and draw lessons, and then we need to decide what course of actions. Merely constituting a committee to suggest on what should be the MSP, price level MSP, I think is not going to serve much purpose. Now, taking the dialogue a step further, I would like to take you take you to a historical journey of what happened. If you remember, in mid-60s, you had consecutively 3 big droughts, such that the shortage of food, the domestic production of food grains was so short that we had to import it, that too from America under PL 480, and the conditions, the kind of conditions which were imposed upon them under this was virtually humiliating. But one good thing was that as a nation, that gave us a very good strength. And whatever government was, I don't want to go into that. More than the government, there were people outside the government also who very prominently served in this larger purpose. They resolved to fight this scenario and make India free from this import and make India food independent. And I need not to say, then the purpose was essentially the green revolution concept was there. The new Borlock technologies were in fact adopted. And for that, import substitution policy was also open, allowing all these new technologies, HYVC, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, farm mechanization and whatnot. That allowed, virtually opening that gate, allowed India adopt and disseminate all these technologies beginning from Punjab. It began virtually, why it began from Punjab, there is a story. And that story was told by none other than that great Mr. Gill, the great bureaucrat, Mr. Gill. He said we had already imported new seeds, a big shipload of the new seed was there. And the government of India had called a meeting for states to simply quote how much they want out of this total lot. And he, as a deputy secretary alone, had gone to participate in that. And when he told, I was really astonished. In that meeting, no states came forward to say, I want this much, I want that much. It was told, they remained silent. Then what to do? This Gill representing Punjab, he said, I, on behalf of my minister, without taking his permission, but hoping he will agree to my decision, I take the entire shipload of this new seed. And when he went back and informed the minister, minister patted him saying, you took the right decision, we'll take it. Now, why this story becomes important is, see, ultimately it's the leadership. Ultimately, it's the bureaucrats, bureaucracy and the political leadership combined together leads in all such things. And that time, how Punjab has emerged to a large extent is you can draw conclusions from this present, this story. Now, I think let us leave this story back. So subsequently, this new technology was disseminated, and to support private investments, given the constraints and limitations of public investments, even informal credit institutions were also taken to the deep villages, deep rural areas to augment the demand for capital formation by offering them cheap credit. So all that I need not repeat, it continued. And in 70s, why this remained restricted to the zones of Punjab and Haryana, and subsequently it's encompassed to Western UP. Basically, these areas are irrigation protected. The Ganga Canal, the Jamuna Canal, and it was safe. The new technology virtually was useful only in case of irrigated conditions. So since this zone, because of Jamuna Canal and because of this Ganga Canal and part of Satluj also. So what happened? Byas Canal. So what happened? It was readily acceptable in this zone, and farmers being entrepreneurial, they accepted this. Now, and it went on expanding, even crossing beyond the boundaries to the Deccan regions as well. Now, what were the pillars of this MSP regime? Or to say that the first important pillar was, it was, the whole price regime has emerged under 3-4 pillars. First pillar is the Essential Commodities Act. Now, why this was enacted in, I think, way back in 66 or 67 or 65. I don't remember exact date, but it was brought in around that time. It was because the kind of horrific experience we had during this drought time of scarcity, creating artificial scarcity and inflating the prices, and that really created a situation where this kind of curbs through legal instruments was necessary. So this Essential Commodities Act was enforced in so many ways for variety of reasons. This remained, and this continues to be in this particular act even today, is in vogue even today. So the entire regime of price and agriculture culture we have by now India has taken in the field of agriculture. Like when we say culture, it means the crop culture. So it has been essentially a crop culture consisting of wheat, paddy alone. Subsequently, it was expanded, but still it has not picked up. So it was, this legal protection was guaranteed through this Essential Commodities Act. Then there were two different channels. One was for production augmentation, and the other was for the distribution of the commodities to the larger public, to different segments of the society. So this channeling, augmentation of production and channeling of those productions for distributive justices to at affordable prices to the among the larger public, these two channeling was also simultaneously adopted. And then for that, some institutions were built up. Institutions means who will have, for any such purposes, it has to be, the channeling has to be through some institutions. So for that, FCI, Food Corporation of India, was created to serve both essentially for procurement purposes and for distribution of the food grains. It's a different story. And for production maximization, many other agencies, institutions were created within the government and outside the government. Now, one important one important dimension of this whole policy was the concept of procurement. Procurement means, and the other was fixation of price. That time you had till mid 70s, you had basically the open market operations. That you have traders of all types. They will channel through their own ways and means, methods. And in that they found some unethical and immoral practices were taken because of their motive of profiteering. So this, and hoarding was one very, sort of, they would hoard simply, and in the process would create artificial shortages, and that will push up the price. So the price fluctuation was like anything. It will dip at the time of harvesting, and it will rocket mount. It will increase when you have off-season time, and they will in between they'll make. So procurement was basically made a part of government initiative to regulate the market and assure farmers, look, if traders are not around, you will have the government agency that it will take your products at the price, fixed price. The government will also price. So other component of this policy was, while they will procure, they will also ensure to offer a minimum price. That is called minimum support price. And for this, how to fix the price, commodity prices? Now, a separate institution was created. Earlier, it used to be named Agricultural Price Commission. Subsequently, it has come to be known as Agricultural CACP, Commission for Agricultural what? CACP, Cost, Agricultural Cost and Prices, something. Now they are fixing, suggesting virtually. They are not fixing, they are suggesting for different crops what should be the minimum prices to the government, and then government announces according to its convenience. Now, what was essentially the objective of price fixation? It was because the experience in 60s and 70s suggested that in addition to price fluctuations, heavy price fluctuations, there was a lower price regime too. A private trader would not offer them adequate price to even cover their returns. So they said, no, we have to fix some minimum price. It's support price. One must be very clear. This support price was suggestive. It was a reference price. It was not a ceiling, but subsequently it becomes a ceiling price. I'll come to that. But this minimum support price, as recommended by CACP or earlier APC, was essentially some kind of I'm sort of that particular word. It was basically a reference price. Reference price. You can go beyond that. You can come even. It can come down below that also. So, as a reference price, it was some minimum support price was supposed to play the role of a reference price. Now, this created, this price fluctuations in 70s or late 60s had created another sort of problem. price would fluctuate like anything. In Professor Garu and other economists present in this August meeting would agree, price as a signal, as an inducing factor is well recognized. So what kind of price they are expected to receive, minimum price, would help farmers take a decision on making area allocations across different basket of crops available for production. Now, objective is essentially for a farmer remains to maximize farm income. And how that time they try to do it, essentially maximization of the income then means you are maximizing farm productivity per acre of production per acre of land or per unit of whatever unit you consider. And that by use of advanced technologies, modern technologies. So that leads to augment farm production. Given the prices, more the output, given the prices, there would be more farm income. There would be farmers will have greater income. That was the essence of. Now, purpose behind this was once you have a regime where the price moves within a band, short band, then what happens? That gives some kind of security to the farmers to invest and to produce, to engage in the business of farm. And the best, there was another reason also. The reason was the inflation. The problem of inflation is not new today. It has been there all along. And that was particularly for the food inflation remained problematic all along. So what happened? They wanted to keep some kind of ceiling on the inflation by regulating these farm prices, right? And that minimum price, I'll come to this contradictions a little later, but the objective of the government was to check inflation also by introducing these measures. And of course, given the food shortages, the government had resolved to maximize the farm output so that India becomes a food secure country. That was also one objective. And I must say, it's the role of Subramaniam, the then agriculture minister, I think has been recognized by some individuals like me, fully openly saying, yes, he was the hero, he was the brain, he was the master person to have virtually ushered in the Green Revolution. He controlled. He was such a great person, political person. Though many a time the success story of this Green Revolution goes to Swaminathan, the man who virtually came out with new variety of HIV seeds. But I don't say his contribution was insignificant. But I think the way Subramaniam fought with the system, the way he came out with flying colors, I think politically he has been denied the right place he deserves. So that was a kind of incidental remark, out of way remarks that I made. But because of these teamwork, India by the late 70s really turned out to be a greenery field of grain. Produce enough food grains to meet your domestic demand of food grains. Now, sir, if you permit, I'll take the discussion now to the second layer. It's what was the approach while fixing the prices, right? Naturally, the Agricultural Price Commission and now the CACP would collect state-wise cost of cultivation data. And this cost of concept A1, A2, B1, B2, C2, there are a lot many, Now, what is this A, B, C? This basically concept includes cost concept is, if you have a total number of costs like labor, rent, inputs, each and every input that may run into 50s. There are some notional costs also. So that basket of costs becomes pretty lean. Now, which one to include? So A1, A2 becomes a narrow concept. B1, B2 becomes okay, tolerably good. But C1 is exclusive of self-employed labor. Depreciation, everything is inclusive of that. I don't want to go into that technicalities of how these price concepts were essentially taken. But the basic objective remained cost plus approach. This is called, while fixing the prices of agricultural commodities, the prime purpose, prime approach remain that you have to give cost plus. What is that cost plus? Now, here is a big question mark. And what is our experience of this cost plus approach in the last 40, 50 years of its operation? I will come again subsequent to my latter part of the presentation. So this cost plus approach has been the ruling approach adopted by this price commission while determining cost crop specific costs, crop specific prices all these years. Now let me see. I'm restricting my analysis now, coming to price only. The arena of this is pretty vast. We cannot go into all these dimensions within this half an hour or 1 hour presentation or our discussion. So I'm narrowing down to my purpose, this price fixation. Now, what has been the outcome of this? Now we must, as I said earlier, it's time. We must review. We must gain insights out of our past experiences and then make corrective actions, which unfortunately had not been the case all along, despite many problems being experienced in each and every corner of the country. Now, while making this outcome analysis, I'm now counting one by one A. For example, when MSPs was fixed, has been fixed each year, instead of this becoming a reference price, it became a ceiling price. Ceiling price means what? The market will, the price of that commodity will not go beyond that limit. The experience suggests this MSPs, as and when fixed by the CSCP or APC, ultimately in operations turned out to be a ceiling price, both in the open market operations and for the government also. Now, what happened when you have made this MSPs a ceiling price? With input costs, what happens? With input costs increasing, ever increasing. You never put a ceiling on input price. That basket of input, purchase inputs, basically, since much of this purchase inputs came from has its industry origin, fertilizer, seeds, irrigation, farm mechanization, everything is coming not from the farm itself, but it's coming from the industry. While its prices went on increasing, I am not saying whether this price increase is justified or not. What I'm arguing, with MSP becoming a ceiling price and input costs increasing, what it led to? It led to narrowing of profit margins for the farmers. See, here is the ceiling price and this keeps increasing. So what happened? Its profit margin, net income of the farmers went on declining. Now this decline varied across the states depending upon the kind of regime each government adopted for input prices. Some gave additional incentives in so many ways that again I come subsequently. Some didn't oblige farmers. So this rate of decline has been observed. Even the data suggests despite increasing MSPs, there has been deceleration in income also. I'm talking of net income. I'm not talking of the gross income, right? So this, what has, with this declining income, what kind of conditions it has created? I'm taking the case of Bihar. There have been multiple zones of danger zones. First is this declining net income made any investments financially non-viable. As you know, investment, the very notion of investment, how do you determine? There are two things: choice of investments and once you make a choice, whether you should go for that investment or not. Now, choice of investments depends on the relative profitability of that investments, A, and B, the financial, the absolute financial rate of return that you may get from X investments. Now, with this declining income and net inflows, net margins, we call it net margins, what happened? That completely eroded the financial viability of investments. The resultant outcome was, in case of Bihar, the capital formation, the investment simply reduced to the minimum all along. You can see data is there, both in the public and private sector. Now, next disaster has been, virtually it's a disaster, that MSP, when government fixed MSP, you didn't have one single price regime all over the world, all across the country. Punjab offered bonus, right? Haryana offered additional bonus. Bihar didn't offer. So naturally, with this, you have a differential price regime across the states in the country. And B, as you said, I said, the procurement always remain restricted to select states. for variety of reasons. Now this means the central government will procure wheat and paddy. Again, this procurement also narrowed to wheat and paddy centric procurement alone. Now, what was the resultant impact? With this, you have once procurement machinery, neither the state government nor the central government. Now, central government has certain food security concepts. They procure and they end up at 80 million. Once you procure 80, aggregate of 80, 85, both paddy and rice, they stop procuring. And all this they are getting from states like Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, and a few more states in this, they have been added in recent years. Almost 70% of total procurement is coming from this, and all other states are left to, and still local state governments, the concerned state governments, despite agriculture being a state subject, they have not shown much interest in making procurements. The resultant outcome has been a regime of depressed commodity prices. Like the MSP is say fixed at 20 rupees. I'm just saying some price is say 20 rupees. Now, in the absence of any procurement agencies, the private traders will create a conditions of no demand, and farmers are left with no option. For consecutive 2 to 3 years, there have been no takers of food grains in Bihar. There have been no takers. And this pushes prices, the market price, down anything in the range of 30 to 40%. Now, when say your wheat price was at 18 rupees, in Bihar, the private traders purchase this at 10 to 12 rupees. That means the range of depression is anything between 30 to 40%. Now, what's it's leading to? Why private traders are procuring? Now, see the scenario. You have a reverse commodity flows. The traders will procure at depressed price from the farmers, and they will take it to other states through rakes. It's not that they are taking it through some private trucks. The railways are used to ferry those procured food grains to other, and there they are selling it in that market yard, getting the price. They are getting the price, 18 rupees plus bonus if at all the state government has that. So the private traders, by an arrangement of reverse commodity flows, is making a huge profit margin at whose cost? Farmers. So mind you, when you say work out the farmers' profitability in Bihar, what you use? CSCP will use MSP price, but farm gate price is 10 to 12 rupees. But they are using inflated price, farm and the declared MSP price, which is notional. It's not available. The outcome is you are exaggerating their income, right? But through this depressed commodity prices, you are virtually looting the farmers, plundering the farmers, and the same commodity is taken back to Bihar through open market operations or otherwise in off seasons, where you are charging the market rate. So as a consumer, you are plundering, and as a producer, you are plundering. In either scenario, the Bihar and Bihari farmers are condemned to remain poor. what a disaster of this price regime ultimately has brought. We are not talking of that. Maybe in other corners of country, I'm not the right person to come because I have not seen that data. For that, you need to examine your case. But I am very sure the case is the same in West Bengal. The case is the same in Odisha. It's still worse in Assam, Eastern UP, in the absence of any procurement mechanism, is facing a horrible problem like Bihar, right? Madhya Pradesh has a different story. The story of Madhya Pradesh is, I think, each time we give credit to Punjab farmers, Haryana farmers, and I think they deserve a big pat. But of late, Madhya Pradesh farmers have also shown, responded to the market. You know, Madhya Pradesh farmers, as I understand, the best quality of wheat and the commercialization of agriculture, the kind of the scale and its intensity and its nature, the way you find it in Madhya Pradesh is appreciable. You know, the best quality wheat is grown in Madhya Pradesh. And you know the price of that wheat? When you sell this wheat in the open market, that general wheat, Punjab, UP, Bihar and all, you sell it at say 20-25 rupees. But the same wheat, that golden type, you get it at 60-70 rupees. You have the demand for, you must see the demand. It's not a one character demand. Basically, it is spread. The high income class naturally go for that, the best quality wheat. And they have encased this market. So commercial crops like soybean, they have excelled in that also. Now, Madhya Pradesh is not, is out of context. I'll stop here. Sir.
Yes, sir.
If you permit, you give me, I'll close it. I think I'm making the whole thing so monotonous that I think I need some kind of, you have to cut jokes to make them a little awaken them. Is it?
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Should I?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was telling, with biases in, regional biases in procurement policies, a kind of agriculture that has been forced to live with is something we need to reconsider. You need to review the whole thing. Now come to one very important thing which I wish to highlight very strongly. With relative prices, when I say relative prices, you have to say factor prices like land, labor, and capital. In Bihar, what has happened? With low prices, farm gate prices, and declining profit margins, the wage rate remains naturally. In Bihar villages, you have 3 different types of wages. One is the one fixed by government at around 300 or so. The other one is the construction sector, where it's booming. Naturally, they are demanding. But when it comes to farm sector, still while it's 300 there, in the farm operations, they are being paid 100, 100 to 150, not more. Why it's happening? Now I am considering this farm wage rate. This with 150 or less of farm in the same village offers you more. And non-farm sector in and around maybe the nearby township is offering still more. So now see, compare different wage rates available within the village in farm sector, within the village of farm sector, within the, that is allied activities, construction activities, or so many other activities, and non-farm or like MSCs and then nearby urban centers. With these relative prices being different, it has led to what? It has created another anomaly. The anomaly is essentially in the nature of the push forces, the push out migration. Why you are? This is basically causing this is pushing basically low wage rates is pushing out migration to a large extent, pushing them out. Then you have in addition to this, the pushing out migration, exodus. Now I virtually call this out migration a case of exodus. I think you must make a distinction between exodus and migration. In development literature, migration is a welcome, is a desirable phenomenon because it corrects the market and it also helps transfer of technology and so many things. But this acceptable level of migration is considered in the range of 5 to 6 to 7%. And the economy accepts it. The new society where it goes also accepts it. And the place from where the labor moves out can also absorb this shock all of a sudden. If the labor goes from the village, it will not impact the local agricultural operations. What's happening currently? Now, agriculture is a seasonal affair. If sowing has to be done, it has to be done in 6-7 days. Now, if you don't have labor available around that time, then either you abandon cultivation or you do it. How you do it? It's a big challenge. You don't have labor available. Plus, it increases sometimes in that 4, 5, 6, 7 days time. That pushes up wage rate also. From 450, it becomes 200. Now, any increase in wage rate with constant prices, commodity prices, or depressed commodity prices, and farm productivity remaining the same, what happens? It reduces your labor productivity. The resultant outcome is, again, it narrows down your farm income. And naturally, so this scenario of low income, low wage rates has created a condition of exodus. Now, exodus is that level of out migration where this is something in the range of 15 to 20%. 15 to 20% out migration. You can imagine how it can impact the local economy and how it can impact the other economy wherever it goes. Now in case, say for example, in Bombay. Now, if you find a local labor, they will demand for the same job 500. But when you have a Bihari labor around, they will do it even for 300. Much of the resentment of non-acceptance of Bihari wages laborers is account of this. I will again stop here. I'll come to now how this has affected the terms of trade. Now, Ramaraju, Professor Ramaraju will agree. this favorable terms of trade is very significant to attract capital. Because, as I said, viability of investment, technical and financial, becomes an important determinant of whether farmer would make a choice to invest or not to invest. Now, when the relative price, commodity agricultural prices and relative prices of industrial output, terms of trade is basically decided, is examined in terms of agricultural prices, prices of commodities that they receive, and prices of industrial products that they pay for. You compare this. So you have industry, you have agriculture. So when you find the relative prices, if for agricultural commodities less than the industrial products, naturally terms of trade becomes unfavorable. No wise investor would ever decide to park their capital in that. So with this, again, Bihar becomes the worst victim. Sir, now I am coming to how it has affected the factor market operation. Factor market, if you closely examine, like land, like labor, and like capital. Let me come to land. Now, there are two noticeable things when it comes to land market in Bihar. One, contrary to the earlier scenario, when large farmers will lease out their land, you have high incidences of small farmers leasing out to large farmers. Are you getting the scenario? The scenario is, earlier, since large farmers cannot manage their large parcels of land, given other things remaining the same again, that famous. Now, what happens? Small farmers are leasing out to marginal farmers. Now, what is happening? It's happening because, as I said, relative income from agriculture remains low vis-a-vis other sectors. This is pushing them. Now, if I have, say, 1 acre of land, and from that 1 acre of land, for the entire year, if I am getting 5,000 net income, right? Now I have to make a choice whether I should stick to this 1 acre of land, cultivating whatever crop you may decide, or get an income of 5,000 annual income, or you better abandon this land, give it to somebody to cultivate, to your neighbors, and move out to some Punjab or Haryana or maybe Bombay, maybe other, even Chennai. So what's happening here? They are abandoning their cultivation. They are leasing out their land and living. So it's a phenomenon, right phenomenon or wrong phenomenon. Now all of you have to decide. Now the worst part is the land use pattern. Land use pattern in Bihar is terrifying. You have 9 classifications of land use. Ramaraju he knows it, being a researcher, an excellent researcher. Now in that, you have seen the net sown area is declining. Even gross cropped area is declining. I myself did a study for the planning department, government of Bihar, making use of time series data since 90s, and at district level, I made district level time series data on land use pattern and found not only this net sown area is declining, even gross crop area is also declining. Height of it, the permanent fallow land is increasing. current fallow is increasing, and area under non-agriculture, that is residential or other purposes, is increasing. How do you interpret this increasing permanent fallow land? Now, this increasing permanent fallow land is again on account when you have shortage of labor. What you do, you don't get in time the labor you want, so you abandon it. Most of the farmers feel, look, it's not worth it, since rate of return or in net income from this piece of land is little less, so they decide better leave it. More important, you have litigations also going on, that also puts land under permanent. So this land use pattern has become very, very, very inefficient. Now, this inefficiency leads to what? Now it's that will speak volumes. How in the long run, if the same trend continues, and if you cross beyond the states of Bihar, then is it going to increase your concerns of food security? And still the dependency of this agriculture on rainfall is so high, because you don't have irrigation structure so assured as it is in Punjab, Haryana, and other states. So this ultimately leads to increased risks to agriculture. Risks to agriculture increases in Bihar on variety of counts. A, technological risks. Yes. When you have the objective to maximize farm income, and the only way, price remaining the same, only way to increase farm income is to augment farm output. And that increased farm output would come only if you apply more and more and more of fertilizer. So ultimately it leads to what? Crop failures. Many a time your crop would failure. You have seeds. Farmers are applying, purchasing from the market SYV seeds, and it doesn't generate. It doesn't generate. So there are not many risk zones, which is increasing, and at whose cost? Now, hedging of those risks, there is total absence. Now, why it's absence? See, I don't know how all of you will react on this. You have a central insurance scheme. In the event of crop failures, they are defining what would be the level of crop failure, what you consider crop failure. There are definitions of it. But state government, Bihar government refused to agree, adopt the central scheme of insurance. And instead, they offered their own. Now, they have made their scheme so prohibitive that access to this risk coverage or hedging to general farmers becomes narrow. So you are depriving them. So this hedging mechanism, now when say ex-government, state government refuses to accept the central government scheme, now it's a political decision. It becomes a political decision. Now in this political decision, whether it is good or bad in the larger interest of the state, now who will ensure that? There is no check on this. Similarly, many a time you may say central government is closing their procurement once they reach the target of 80 to 85 million tons of paddy and wheat, because it entails certain fiscal burden, additional fiscal burden. Given the constraints as imposed by Fiscal Responsibility Act, you have to stop somewhere, because they want to reduce non-planned expenditure. Then what should be the role of the state government? Since agriculture is a state subject, agriculture also becomes the responsibility. Farmers, you cannot deny, farmers is not the responsibility of the state, but it's happening. How you overcome this problem? Sir, I think I have dragged it a little more.
Okay, sir.
Now, three more points. Sir,
Yes.
I'm not, I'll take little time.
Please take.
Sir, allow me to pour
Go ahead,
my
sir.
outburst. Sir,
Please go ahead.
allow
Please go
me
ahead.
to pour my outburst.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I have an audience who can listen to me. And I found similar audience just last week in Patna also. They also listened to me with rapt attention. Now, my point is, in this price regime, one thing that clearly came up was they made market as an evil. They considered market as an evil agent. They are exploitative, they are robbers, they are whatnot. Now, my contention is, maybe I do in the because ethical, unethical, and immoral practices created such situations for all of us to believe that. But there are examples when this market has proved a better agent than the government. Now, let me give you a classic example. In Bihar, again, in 2001, 2002, and 3, perhaps 4 also. I am privy to this whole dialogue with the senior ones in Bihar. I was directly involved in this government. There were some senior political leaders with whom I interacted closely, and they said, even up to 2 o'clock in the night, we will do contact, we will remain in touch, talking all such things. So in these 4 years, what happened? All of a sudden, they found that the aggregate deposits, bank deposits and bank deposits in Bihar is increasing very rapidly. And they were not getting a clue how exactly this deposit is increasing. Oh, obviously, Tatas and Birlas will not go all the way to Bihar to park their funds and push up deposits. It came to the light that why it was all the deposits coming from the rural farmers. How it was happening? See, when MSP, that time, when the price, MSP price for paddy and wheat was in the range of 9 rupees or 10 rupees, the private traders in Bihar offered up to 14 rupees. What happened? There were no takers. There was no government machinery to offload the farm surpluses. But traders were offloading each and every produce from each and every village. Why? Because that was a period when Bangladesh and even beyond, even Tibet, northeastern states of India had poor harvests. And they were obtaining through these informal private channels, traders, these food grains. Now what happened? See the irony. Since the law says you prohibited transporting beyond certain limit of these food grains, it's illegal. Your market. So the government, the police started chasing them, making them come through through their noses. So these changing by the state, I told this thing in the open meeting. Now the state machinery, many a time you have to close your eyes. When private traders were bringing so much of money from Bangladesh, from Tibet, there was no reason why you are beating them, chasing them. It's after all coming to our system. And just because these traders were not paying your attorney money, you chase them. Now, this illustrates market every time cannot play the role of an evil angel. Evil. We have to trust and mold them, build them to become a partner in our entire social fabric. Second point is, see, in 2009 and 10, again, 2009 and 10, our food processing industries, in their zeal to reduce their inventory cost, wanted to purchase directly from the market. And they initially, because it provided for, so they started procuring at again 12 rupees, much below, around 20 to 25% higher than the MSP is fixed then. And they procured pretty well. I was traveling to remote villages in Uttar Pradesh then. Farmers were so happy. Sir, this time our luck is so good. But you know, again, there were a section in our own system who played a foul and saw that these food processing corporate houses are barred from directly making access for procurement. So after that, they never came. Why is happening? They are getting for their processing, getting their wheat from the open market operations of the FCI. Now, in the whole process, whom you are punishing? You are virtually punishing the farmers. So can we still consider these private agents or market as the evil forces? I think no. We have to welcome them also. We have to reconsider it. Now, the last point I would like to say, the politics of inflation. Sir, this particular politics of the kind of politics we play on the name of inflation is virtually you are forcing farmers to cough out, to feed urban consumers at their cost. Basically, this bogey of inflation is raised by urban consumers. You have a lobby. Now you want to purchase tomato at 2 rupees. You are happy. While you keep seeking higher income. But while seeking 2 rupees tomato or whatever, you need to pass it on to the farmers. So ultimate victim of this politics of inflation becomes the farmers. You are forcing them to bleed through their noses by putting a ceiling on the prices and not even procuring it. Even if you suppose you put a ceiling, then ensure that it's all procured. That also you raise your hands. Then what happens? And indirectly, by putting a ceiling on the name of food inflation is rising, you are start crying. For whom you are trying to seek? It's for the urban consumers. So ultimately, the worst victim becomes who? It's essentially the farmers. So basically, to say that you are forcing farmers to pay directly, indirectly for the cheap price, for the for the cheap prices that you are offering them through their different windows. So we must reconsider this politics of inflation. We need to examine all that. Then I'm now running. Sir, last. This becomes my last and very important. I'm touching one important aspect of the issue price. You know, for distribution of food grains through our ration shops at reduced prices, this is called issue price. So you did to make food grains accessible to different sections of the society through this window of issue prices and all. What you have done, sir, I consider you have promoted a regime of wheat imperialism, and I am saying this loudly. What you have done through this cheap, you are selling, you are taking this wheat through this window, through this channel, even to areas where wheat is not produced. Because by reducing its price to 2 rupees, naturally the demand for a product is elastic to the price. The result is what? They have abandoned cultivating their traditional crops like ragi, like millet, like other raw crops, bajra. Now, you cannot grow wheat and paddy in Karnataka, in agriculture zones of Karnataka and Maharashtra, because it's a deficit zone, rain deficit zone. And moreover, you have hilly terrain. And in that, traditionally, they have been growing bajra and other crops. Now, with this issue price at 2 rupees, their area is declining sharply. What you have done, ultimately, through this window, you have created a new demand path for wheat and paddy, at which cost it had degenerated your environment. It has killed local income, employment opportunities, and there are a lot many things to be seen. We also need to consider why crop. It is all because this price regime promoted crop culture of wheat and rice alone. Because procurement was only narrowed to these two crops only, and the distribution channel through issue regime was also only these two crops. So until unless you widen this basket, it becomes difficult to, it becomes basically difficult to continue cultivation of traditional crops. There is a sharp decline in area under cultivation of such crops. There is a sharp decline in the production of these crops as well. Sir, I'll stop by now A. I'm just reading. All of us, we need to create our database and make an analysis at the state or local level to understand what exactly is happening. All of us. You cannot leave it on Agricultural Price Commission or CSCP to collect the data and tell us this is the cost. No. In case of Bihar, as I said, the cost is much more because you have in say Punjab, what's happening? Electricity cost price is fixed, right? Flat rate. You can use any amount of water, but price remains the same, cost remains the same. But in places like Bihar, for irrigation, you have to depend on diesel mode. Now, you know the price, cost of diesel, So that enhances the cost of cultivation. So cost of cultivation would vary across the regions. So still we should consider cost. Then what cost? Should we take the national average, or it should be region specific or state specific? Or now second important aspect to me is, should we adopt the approach of cost plus, or we should shift to the regime of income policy? Now, Government of India for the last decade has been proclaiming that their prime objective is to maximize farm income. Now, farm income can be increased by augmenting what? Farm production and farm productivity. The other way is reducing the input cost. And third way is to raise the prices, product prices. Now, on product prices, you are putting a ceiling. And you say you are going to double the farm income. How can you achieve? How can you achieve this until unless you also offer them an assured income level? What is that assured income level? Now, I call it income support scheme. You must have, the nation must adopt an income policy for different segments of work activities. What should be the income level, minimum income I am talking, to give them a minimum level of living. And then accordingly you decide their product prices, not the cost. Why it should be cost alone? Why not the income? How much is deserved? You are deciding. So I strongly feel we need to consider seriously from cost plus to income norm. How? I think I cannot offhand say this should be the approach, that should be. For that, serious persons like you, well-meaning persons like you, all of you have to come out and then give a serious thinking on this. Now, third thing is, much of the problem is because your production outlet and distribution outlet are virtually moving together. If you increase one, the effect is there on the other. Now my question is, can we insulate production channel and distribution channel? Can we insulate? It's a bigger question. Can we insulate the production channel and the distribution channel? Now, insulation means what? You have two different streams of management, two different streams of subsidy management. Naturally, if you have insulation, your objective is to reduce, you put check impression. If you want to offer consumers these food grains at affordable prices, but then let the government pay the cost of it, not the farmers. By keeping them together, what currently you are doing, you are putting this cost directly, indirectly on the farmers and make them pay through their noses. But the moment you insulate this, you have a product market. If you are increasing the prices of product market, that's not going to affect the prices of commodity because there are a different mechanism of subsidizing it. So, sir, I think I have taken too much of your time. And with big thank you, there are a lot many other issues. I think I must stop here with big thank you to all that you had the patience, indeed, so much of patience that you, without even laughing once, you went on listening to me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Telangana Jana Vedika, సార్ అడుగుతాం సార్. వ్యవసాయ ఉత్పత్తుల ధరల నిర్వహణపై అవగాహన బీహార్ ఉదాహరణగా డాక్టర్ తేజ్ నారాయణ గారు సుమారుగా 1:25 నిమిషాల సమయం పాటు వారు 1960 నుండి మొదలుకుంటే నేటి వరకు కూడా వ్యవసాయ రంగంలో వస్తున్నటువంటి ప్రధానమైనటువంటి మార్పుల గురించి చెప్పుకుంటూనే 1960 సంవత్సరం నుండి 70 సంవత్సరం మధ్య కాలం లోపల ఈ దేశం లోపల కరువు అనేటువంటిది ఏర్పడ్డది. ఆ తర్వాత హరిత విప్లవంతో పాటు టెక్నాలజీ అనేటువంటిది పెరిగింది. వ్యవసాయం లోపల యంత్రాల ఉపయోగం కూడా పెరిగింది. ఎరువుల యొక్క వాడకం కానీ, హైబ్రిడ్ విత్తనాల ఉపయోగం కానీ పెరిగింది అనేటువంటిది చెప్పుకుంటూనే పంజాబ్ రాష్ట్రం లోపల యాంత్రీకరణ అంటే ఈ యొక్క మెషినరీతోని వ్యవసాయం చేయడం అనేటువంటిది జరిగింది అనేటువంటిది ప్రధానంగా చెప్పుకుంటూ వస్తూనే ఈ దేశం లోపల ఎఫ్సిఐ ఫుడ్ కార్పొరేషన్ లాంటి వ్యవస్థలను కూడా భారత ప్రభుత్వం ఏర్పాటు చేసింది అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని చెప్పుకుంటూనే భారతదేశంలో గ్రీన్ రెవల్యూషన్ కి ఫాదర్ ఆఫ్ గ్రీన్ రెవల్యూషన్ స్వామినాథన్ అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని వారు చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పారు. రైతుల పెట్టుబడులు పెరుగుతున్నప్పుడు అదే విధంగా వాళ్ళ కనీస మద్దతు ధర కూడా పెరగాలి, లేని ఎడల రైతులు నష్టపోతారనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని చెప్పారు. ముఖ్యంగా బీహార్ లోపల వేతనాలు, కూలీల రేటు కూడా తక్కువగా ఉంటుంది అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని కూడా వాళ్ళు చెప్పడం జరిగింది. అందుకే వలసలు కూడా పెరుగుతున్నాయి అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని డాక్టర్ తేజ్ నారాయణ గారు తెలియజెప్పారు. వారికి మా తెలంగాణ జనవేదిక తరఫున థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ సార్. ఇప్పుడు ఎనీ క్వశ్చన్ సార్, ఎవరైనా డాక్టర్ సుధాకర్ గారు, ప్రొఫెసర్ సుధాకర్ గారు, ప్రొఫెసర్ రమేష్ రాజు గారు, ప్రొఫెసర్ రవీంద్రరావు గారు కూడా ఉన్నారు.
సార్ మాట్లాడొచ్చా అండి?
యా ప్లీజ్ సార్, ప్లీజ్ సార్, సార్ సార్.
Thanks very much, sir. Thanks to all the organizers and thanks to my dear friend TNJ, who has agreed to kindly address our gathering at a very short notice. And we were together 40 years ago in a institute called NCAR, and he was a very energetic researcher those days also. Sir, I have some observations, few observations, and kindly bear with me. All of us in NCR, myself and Jasab and all of us used to work on these issues those days. So in the Green Revolution, there were basically the seeds were brought from Mexico, basically by two plane loads, by defense plane loads, AN-20, and Norman Borlaug gifted them. And it was given to, as Dr. Jasab said, they were readily given to Punjab, as Gill's story has talked about Gill's famous Gill, etc. And they were extended to eight districts of North India, because we are very short of food, and starvation was there those days in North India and many parts of South also. And the real problem was 2/3 of fertile Punjab was given to Pakistan those days with partition. During partition, 2/3 of very fertile Punjab was given by British to the Pakistan, and we were left with only 1/3 of Punjab, which was very infertile, frankly. That is one issue. And the biggest canal system, the cement canal system, was gifted to Pakistan by British those days. That they call it Dunia ka sabse lambi nahari nizam, they call it. And all the Chakwal area and Lahore, Chakwal, Gujranwala, Multan, the entire belt up to Karachi, so all this belt, very extremely fertile belt was there. Interestingly, Pakistan never had starvation, never had food shortage, never had shortage of wheat. When we had massive shortage, when we had enormous number of deaths here. And after that, Mrs. Gandhi was getting, as Jasab said, PL 480 funds, and Lyndon Johnson betrayed us. He said he started misbehaving with India and then Prime Minister Ms. Gandhi. Then she came back to Delhi and told her very excellent and smart minister, C. Subramanian. Jasab was mentioning about him. As he rightly said, he's the best, one of the finest agriculture minister and one of the finest finance ministers of India. And he was very dedicated. He was a very smart politician and an excellent administrator. He and there is another Secretary of Agriculture those days. His name is also Mr. Subramanian, retired officer. And there was another Dr. B.P. Paul, a Bengali gentleman, a Bengali scientist, DG of ICMR. These were the three real stars of the Green Revolution. In fact, the real unsung heroes of the Green Revolution. Everybody talks about MS Swaminathan, all of us know, of course. He has had his contribution, of course. But the real stars are BP Paul, C. Subramaniam, and the other Subramaniam of Secretary of Agriculture. These were the real stars of the Green Revolution those days. And the institutions like Punjab Agricultural University, GB Pant University, Haryana Agricultural University, ISAR, they play a tremendous role in developing in IRA PUSA in Delhi itself, the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, in developing high-yielding seeds like IR8 and many other dwarf varieties of rice, especially wheat. As he said rightly, it was basically the Green Revolution was confined to the wheat crop and North India in the beginning. And wheat is an extremely powerful crop. It is also called power crop because because in fact it's the wheat lobby, the wheat, as you said, wheat lobby which makes and makes central governments and governments in North India, Bihar, Punjab, Haryana, UP, Rajasthan, etc. So always wheat is always given a favorable treatment compared to rice and other commodities. This is one point, sir. The other one is if you come to the cost of cultivation, the actual cost of cultivation, that's where the problem begins. In fact, it is very difficult to calculate cost of cultivation very accurately and very correctly because there are different costs, different wage levels, different conditions in various states of India. For example, the cost of cultivation of rice in Orissa is very low compared to the cost of cultivation of rice, same rice in Punjab and Haryana. So once if a warrior farmer sells his rice in Andhra or Maharashtra, it will be cheaper. Whereas Punjabi farmer, if he sells, it will be very expensive. So these asymmetries are always there. These asymmetries are difficult to solve. So that's why you have an institution called Agriculture Cost Prices Commission. And C.H. Hanumantrao worked on Hanumantrao, so everybody knows in Hyderabad, he lives in Hyderabad. And President Hanumantrao, of course, worked on this cost of cultivation. His book on that is extremely popular to all the students of economics. Students of PhD students always read that book, etc. And and one more thing is the farmers are always at a loss because the problem is whenever there is a large supply of production. For example, there's a bumper crop. When the supply is very high, the prices crash down. So there is no way, there is no institution in India, including the Food Corporation of India, which will collect and buy and purchase all the rice and all the wheat and all the crops that are produced by farmers in the case of a bumper crop. So large amount of large amount of wheat and rice are left unpurchased outside the system. So what happens is this is where the farmers are cheated. They don't get their due. So in the case of a bumper crop also, unfortunately, in the case of a bumper crop also, farmer ends up being a loser. He ends up getting less money than what he deserves. And of course, the consumers like you and me will get cheaper agricultural goods in the case of bumper crop. But the farmer actually ends up losing. He doesn't benefit. In the case of a drought, in the case of a flood, in the case of a disease to the crop, of course, crop will fail. And in that case also, farmer will end up being the loser. So what I mean to say is, in reality, every year, whether it is a bumper crop or a crop failure or a famine, etc., farmer is always a loser. That means a farmer's life is destined to be a loser, and his income is always very low. Either it's a bumper crop or it's a famine. So the poor farmer always ends getting very, very little out of his crop. The reason is, I feel the reason is we haven't been able to develop a system. It's not easy. It's easy to lecture like this, talk like this in a classroom. It's not that easy also to solve this problem. We haven't been able to develop a system where farmer gets his due in the case of a bumper crop or in the case of a lower crop, etc. And here I feel the governments here, I have made some calculations. If we have roughly around 17 to 18 major crops in India, including vegetables, fruits, wheat, rice, sugarcane, etc. Around 17 to 18 crops. If the government wants to buy all the crops and stocks them in a godowns and wants to pay to the farmers a good price, it needs around 18 lakh crores. It needs around 18 to 19 lakh crores. And the total revenue collections of government of India is around 20 lakh crores. So that means the issue, or some people say the government should buy everything from the farmers. It is not practical at all. Nowhere in the world, no country in the world buys all the crops from all the farmers anytime, anywhere in the world. Let's be very clear about it. Because the total revenue collections itself are not enough to buy all the crops. So that means here the role of private sector or the cooperative sector comes. Let us take the case of Amul Dairy. It's a tremendous success. It's a tremendous success. Okay, India was producing around 22 million tons in 1962, 63, which import milk powder, etc., etc. All of us remember in school days, we were fed the milk powder from United Nations and FAO, etc. Now India produces around 220 million tons, 220 million tons of milk, the world's biggest producer of milk. And the second biggest producer of milk is China. It is around 130 million tons. So that means India has surpassed China as the biggest producer of milk by long distance. How this has happened? This has happened not because of the government of India or any state government's contribution or involvement. It is because of a good policy decision taken by the government, then government, Lal Bahadur Shastri, then various successive governments, and then the very good decision taken by Vajpayee government to privatize the milk collection and production and processing. And the technologies, the L&T, the Larsen & Toubro has developed a technology which is able to produce the machines for preserving the milk. So suddenly the milk farmer has become rich. It is called 65-35 model. But every drop of milk is collected now in India. No milk is wasted now, and this is a tremendous success. This can be a role model and an example for agriculture also. Of course, it's not easy. Agriculture is much bigger problem. In milk, 65% of the milk, 65% of the money, the price of the milk is given to the farmer. For example, if you buy 100 rupees worth of milk in Mother Dairy or Amul Dairy, 65 rupees goes to the farmer straight away. And only 35 rupees we use it for processing, transportation costs, maintenance, cooling, chilling, etc. Because it earns more money from the milk products like cheese, butter, and other milk products than milk itself. So here, farmer is given a very, very good deal. It's a good deal. It is one of the finest examples, a success story of private sector and a cooperative sector also. And this can be thought of for solving the farmers' problem. It is not easy, of course, as I told you, it is not that easy, but it can be worked upon. So we need at least 100 Walmarts to buy all the vegetables and all the fruits and all the crops that are being produced in a fertile country like India, where agriculture is the first occupation of most of us. Well, all of us hail from agricultural families. Our grandfathers have been farmers, and most of us come from, everyone I think here comes from a farmer's family. So we know the problems. Now the problem is here, if you take the, so that means non-farming income than agricultural activities. But I have seen in my own village, milk production and poultry has made my poor farmers, once poor farmers 20 years, now they are very well off. They are quite well off and they are quite comfortable. Poverty is virtually eliminated in my remote backward village in Vizag district. This has happened because of this milk production, dairy, the the dairy industry, and the poultry industry and fish, etc. etc. Now, very interestingly, if you take the wage rates, as Jasa was saying, wage rates in Bihar and wage rates all over India, relative wage rates have gone up. So in my village, in many parts of Telangana, also I was reading about it, what is known as crop holiday. They call it crop holiday. In my district also, they're saying, farmers are saying, I speak to them, they say it is not viable to do any farming at all. They what's the meaning of it? If you cultivate sugarcane, they say the return is the revenue, the income is much less than the expenditure. So it makes no sense, to produce sugarcane at all. So sugarcane is now the cultivation of sugarcane, the crop pattern is changing. So all these things are happening because of the higher wage rates, and the return on the farming is very less. So farmers are quickly lost, and so they are keeping their land fallow, or crop holiday is happening. So what I feel is, I say these are some of the issues. These are some of the issues which have to be taken. It's not easy to find a solution for this problem. I feel my hindsight, my sense says, sixth sense says, only the cooperative movement or the role of private sector in collecting these vast amounts of production of agricultural vegetables and fruits is needed. And you must have seen on the television screens these days, the garlic was dumped in a river in Mandsaur district in Madhya Pradesh. And garlic, because garlic costs 50 rupees a kilo in Delhi, whereas the farmer is offered 2 rupees. 2 rupees in Sihor, Madhya Pradesh, Mandsaur market. So why it is happening? Because there is no proper mechanism to collect this very precious product called garlic. I think the new farm laws would have opened up new markets for the farmers. The farmer is put a loss, good chap. His output is dumped in a farmer, he dumped in a lake or a river canal. I don't see any farm leader or BKS, Bharatiya Kisan Union, coming and protecting this guy. Don't dump it. We'll make something out of it. Nobody says this. So this is, and similarly, tomatoes in Andhra and Telangana, they're sold at 2 rupees, while I pay 50 rupees in Delhi for that same. So that means this is a problem. It's almost a sort of game theory problem. A solution has to be found out using all our resources and intellect and policy making abilities into consideration. So this can be done, but it's not easy, as I said, because a lot of politics also, of course, comes in. Well, we are not here to talk about the political part of it. We're all interested, since we're all children of farmers, we are more interested in solving the problem than talking about the politics out of these crop prices, etc. I think if there's a will, there's a way. We have the private sector has solved many problems. We have, for example, we have the cheapest telephony, we have the cheapest airline ticket, we have the cheapest milk in the world, cheapest cheese or butter, and many FMCG goods are cheap and best in India, in the world. This has happened because of the vibrant nature and success, vibrant nature and efficiency of the private sector and its private sector management. So what I feel is, so this the problem of the problem of low income of the farmers, though they produce a lot of crops, has to be tackled with a positive mind. And a lot of every farmer is a hard worker in India. Nobody is a lazy farmer. Everybody, they don't have a powerful union like C2 or Delhi University Teachers Association, which fights for good wages or good scales, pay scales, or good promotions, etc. There is no, because there is a massive disunity among the farmers. As Ramarao Garu has clearly said, the farmer strike was confined to only 3 or 4 states, or 3.5 states in North India, and the rest of India, including Bengal, including Kerala, including Tamil Nadu, the farmers seem to be happy. They never protested against the farmers. Very interestingly, when I used to attend a research course in Delhi School of Economics in 1995, then Manmohan Singh, the Davada government, he was free. He used to take a class every day. He used to tell us, very interestingly, he used to say this: these farm laws have to be implemented. We have to change this. The farmers should be given access to the private markets, and then only we can solve this problem. Very interestingly, his own party was opposing what he told us. Well, that's the politics part of it. Let's leave it. And one more part is, I would like to focus is the terms of trade. And the terms of trade are always unfavorable to the farmers, and they are always favorable to the industrialists. You know that industrial demand for industrial products depends on the rural incomes. If farmers are little well off there, then only they can buy tractors or cement or pesticides or insecticides or tractor parts or mobiles, bikes or televisions. So I feel the industrialists also should contribute by providing them cheaper agricultural inputs like fertilizers, pesticides, especially pesticides and insecticides, etc., and cheaper parts of for tractors, etc. So they can transfer little portion of their profit to the farm sector. This can solve the problem. This can also help in solving the problem. And similarly, we have the problem of pulses. Pulse of Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra part and Uttar Pradesh, some districts, they produce enormous pulses, but still they don't get good prices. And interestingly, we produce around 19 million tons of pulses in India, and with our demand, our demand, India demand is 22 million tons, and we import around 3.5 million tons from Canada, Egypt, etc. Very interestingly, India is the biggest producer of pulses and the biggest importer of pulses also. This is a very strange case because our food production, our food pattern, our food consumption pattern is like that. Pulses, arar dal, kandipapu is used in every dish, every item in our food because the vegetarian nation needs all these things. And one more thing is,
Thank you,
Madhya
sir.
Pradesh, as Dr. Das said, the quality wheat, which is called Sharbati Atta, is produced in 4 districts in Madhya Pradesh: Sihor, Mandsaur, and another 2 more districts. And it is consumed by all elite or the rich people of India, including the farm leaders who were striking those days. They use Sharbati atta from Madhya Pradesh. They don't eat atta from Haryana and Punjab. Very interesting. It's a strange dichotomy because that wheat is not very tasty. The roti is not very tasty. They buy it from, it is around 30 or 35 rupees a kilo from Madhya Pradesh. So that means so many asymmetries are there, so many dichotomies are there. And of course, politics spoils the game, and the farmers, innocent or poor farmers, end up getting a very raw deal. This is
Thank
very
you, sir.
sad.
Thank you
We
so
have
much.
to solve this problem. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sri Arvind Tripathi, you wanted to ask a question or you want to do a comment? Be very short, sir. We are short of time, please.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you for giving me chance to ask. And thank you, sir. It was a very informative and very good to hear all your views, and also Professor Ramaraju. So all along, if we just look at how the policy has been formulated, we can clearly see that it has been kind of trial and error sort of approaches, and never kind of a serious push has been given to solve such an important issue in our country. And every time like this problem appears, something else is done. And even now, when the farm laws had come, I mean, both had pros, cons about that. But the thing is, why is the policy? I mean, we have so much brains in this country. Why we are not able to? We are like a third. We are a third world country when it comes to the policy formulation. Why can't we simply provide a good agricultural framework to our farmers? Why is it that, first somewhere government intervention does, okay, we also have federal structure, so it's states have their list, and then again, there is no regulatory mechanism, so one state can live off the other state and kind of eating other state, and migrations happening, and then somebody, and recent the farm laws come, then that comes from the corporate side. Again, the cooperative sector has been completely, the cooperative movement is a lot of times ignored. We have those FPCs and all, but so we all along we see that there are efforts like half-hearted measures here and there. While we have so much brains in this country, why are we not able to solve a single? What are the main? We have so much brains. Why are we not able to solve such a basic problem related to our farmers and the majority of the population?
Sir, thank you. Manoj, you want anything? Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tej Narayan sir, for giving us wonderful talk. And I much thankful to Achyut Ramaraju Garu for introducing Tej Narayan Garu for our Vedika. And in fact, what Arvind Tripathi just now said is exactly true. What's going on around across the country now. Of course, it's most essential now to solve the problem of the farmers, because And in the pandemic time, we know we got known that only farmers were ahead, sir. No one else. Only the farmer fraternity was ahead to save the country, and no one else. And it's our right and it's our duty to safeguard the rights of the farmers, sir. And thank you, Ramana, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So before we sum it up, I have two questions. One is,
Sir, you've gone on mute.
and number
Sir,
two,
okay.
yeah.
We did not hear your first question. You went
Yeah,
on.
I did not ask anything. Still, I totally agree with what Tripathi, Sri Arvind Tripathi has said. Two, one is the land holding of this country is an average 2.5 acres. When there is a small land holding, when no human being is in a position to work today, nobody wants to do any hard work. That is physical hard work. That is the biggest problem. This is what we have, Telangana Jana Vedika, last 3-4 years, we have been doing a field survey. What we found is this. So I totally agree with Dr. Achyut Ramaraju about cooperative farming. When he said garlic, see, the cooperative farming, the government should have a policy. You please enlighten us whether the government should have a policy like what you have rightly pointed out. See, when if somebody wants to cultivate something, it should be in coherence with the local areas. So unless there is a mechanism to control that, you cannot do that. So that is how farming community has to be empowered. So the only thing is, it has to be through cooperative farming. When it comes to cooperative farming, land is again a big problem, meets and bounds, all these issues will come. So how we have to overcome these issues as an economist and as a field survey, you have done a lot of field survey. Can you enlighten us, please? Yes, sir.
Should I
Yes, sir.
let me conclude. I stand enlightened by the kind of questions, proposals, some information our friends have shared here. I would begin by Rama Rao's first two questions. Why Bihar is silent today? And while the role of Bihar in independence was so high, so great, I would like to share one important historical. I was once sitting with one agricultural production commissioner. He happens to be a Gandhian. He was in JNU with me. And we were together talking on so many things. This Champaran movement came and he shared something which I couldn't believe, and it's all in the archives available. He said the beginning of the decline of Bihar agriculture started from that Champaran movement. The Champaran movement was all about abandoning indigo cultivation.
Indigo, yes.
That time, Bihar agriculture with this indigo cultivation was absolutely highly commercialized. They were getting rich dividends. They were directly linked to, Liverpool industries, and they were getting their prices. Now, with this movement, Champaran movement of Gandhi, entire ecosystem of agriculture, commercial agriculture was destroyed. Now, wouldn't you include the kind of proposal I have is the kind of cost Bihari as a whole incurred in the process of this movement becomes much larger than many a time we try to portray it. right? So now nobody is talking about this cost. So the moment you rake up this particular cost, perhaps there would be some people may not like this, but this is fact. Why I'm telling this historical anecdote is to prove your point. Perhaps was much more than many a time we calculated. Sir, why to me it appears that time it was a national cause. Freedom became a national cause. But subsequently, the nature of politics shifted to power grabbing. And in that, caste and creed and so many other things became the more powerful tool. So today, in their game of obtaining or accessing power, they have forgotten all this interests, including the interests of Bihar, and they are indulging it. So naturally, today you will not take, and the last point, perhaps it will be a soothing for all of you. People of Bihar are happy with out-migration. You know, today Bihar economy has become a remittance economy. You say Bihar is poor, and I say Bihar is not poor. Bihar is poor when you consider state domestic product divided by the population. But when you consider remittances income, and that's if you consider the total disposable income, which is net of import and net of exports, then Bihar stands a gainer through remittance income. With more than 1 lakh crore of remittances income, if you add that much, it's a liquid money. It's all available in the market. You can see how vibrant is the other way of looking at the economy is seeing the market. And it's a vibrant market, whether it's consumer market, whether it is any other market, you can see how vibrant it is. So my consideration is today, because farmers, because the Biharis are getting abundant remittances income, they are least bothered to come back, and there are certain other factors also. So all that apart, sir, the entire complexion of social and economic dynamics in Bihar has changed such that seeking internal transformation perhaps will not be so easy until unless you have another Gandhi or another Buddha or some such great personalities who occupy the space. Now coming to Ramanazu's point, I will just take up his one point. See, I will draw your attention to what America, US is doing and what Europe is doing. You don't have to go by, see, the kind of experiments and the kind of already policy in place you have in European and other countries. Now you can draw conclusions from that and make application thereof in this case. Now in America, you have universal procurement mechanism, universal. And that its range covers not crop regime alone. It also covers allied activities like milk, piggery, and all of that. In the event of no purchaser, what they do, they procure it, and to control the domestic and control the global market, they dump it in the event of gluts. So that the market inflation, the inflation impact of that glut is, or recessionary impact of that glut is reduced. So my suggestion is that you have already income support scheme in place in European and other countries. Now, with fear to implement this scheme, it's not implementable because it may entail huge financial burden. I think if you calculate the direct and indirect financial burden that we already are paying under the present system is perhaps much more than you. What we will do it? Let us calculate the trade-off. Somebody has to sit and work out the trade-off of the present and the likely regime we are going to adopt. I think that would be a favorable. I think the kind of monster we are creating out of fiscal impact, adverse fiscal impact, huge fiscal burden that it may entail, I think is exaggerated. And I think there is some psychology on it. See, many a time we are not happy to see that farmers or the downtrodden's income is increased. That psychological, so psychology basically becomes impeding factor and prohibits many progressive things to be implemented. Let us accept it. Now I'll come to Arvindji. Why we are not able to solve much of the problems? Yeah, there are today, I think the democracy is good for so many reasons, agreed, but there are certain no-nos. Now, in the whole process of democratization, different lobbies emerges. And the lobby of traders lobby, for example, I must repeat, they are not allowing many things to happen. For if you allow market to play a greater role, then their status, their kind of monopoly would be shattered. So now they start playing something. There are politics involved into it. So, sir, there are many things. If you have a strong political will, a clarity on what exactly we want to do, if you want to have, I think if you adopt a policy of insulating producers and consumers channel, to a large extent we will solve this problem. But many a time we shatter. I tell you, when this problem, this suggestion of income support scheme last cropped up, I think it was in 2001. We were a part of the budget making exercise of the union government. NABARD was also expected to offer suggestions. And in that process, I was actively participating. And I suggested to bring income support scheme. Then, see, I'm talking of 2001, when Nanda was the chairman. After listening to me, he jumped. You are talking something which is not, which is impossible. I said, it's nothing impossible. Let us theoretically try to understand. Theoretically, is it practicable or not? On paper, let us work out. And then see ways of means of how to attain it. So psychology, many a time, like in case of income tax, agricultural income tax is not being imposed all on the name that the entire operation of entire direct tax collection becomes unmanageable. This is the fear. This is the fear. So I think the kind of fear we try to build up becomes prohibitive. And coming to land holding law, no one wants to do hard work and empowering farmers through cooperative. Sir, I think that is one solution. Cooperative becomes definitely one option, but we need to consider other options also. Like there is one suggestion. See, land issue is still remains a big issue. Many a time we say distribute the land. Many a time we say let us have cooperative farming. Despite cooperative has been failed miserably. If you calculate the total cost that government has paid, the society has paid to keep this cooperative movement alive, becomes gigantic. I think there are other ways of also, like equity holding concept of land. I think offers one good example. One example, no, good or bad, I will not say. All that I'm saying is that let us explore what are the options available. Cooperative is one, individual ownership one, equity ownership is another. Like that, you may have multiple options. Like you have in case of tribal areas, northeast, you have community holding. Nobody owns the land permanently. It's the village Nokma, the village head, who decides who will cultivate or who will not cultivate the land. But when this village Nokma takes this decision, there is minimum element of ethics and morality with him. He cannot sacrifice the interests of the society. So I think there are numerous examples. All that I need, as I said, we need to research is the last priority of the government and of the individuals today. We need to sit down, do individual thinking and like on each and everything. So my humble request to all of you individually is, if at all we want to fight the current scenario, we need to be empowered with data and analysis.
Correct.
In the local level. Until unless we done and argue with that committee, I think we will lose the battle once for all. Bihar paid heavily for remaining silent for 50 years, not participating in that. And I think other states also suffered. I cannot speak on behalf of other states because I don't have the statistics. But the fact remains, some states benefited hugely, but most of the states perished. Sir, I think.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. May I now request Dr. James Prashant to propose a vote of thanks, formal vote of thanks, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Tej Naranja, for giving us a very passionate sharing of knowledge about the issues affecting the price fixation issues of farmers in Bihar and also around the country. We have been highly informed, more educated by your talk. We thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing your vast experience with us. We are truly in debt for giving us your time, sir. And we hopefully we would like to hear you again, on a similar topic regarding agriculture, because we have so much to learn from you. And Telangana Jana Vedika is again focuses a lot on agriculture. We have a lot of focus on agriculture and farmers issues. And we thank you so much for giving us this wonderful talk. Thank you so much, sir, and a very good evening to all the members of Telangana Jana Vedika.
Thank you, sir.
Good night, all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And I think I have never come across any other forum like yours. So much committed. All of you are happy.